Vamos a hablar ahora de la interconexión de los precios.
Now we are ready to discuss the interconnection between prices. Listen, in the market process, two important relationships exist between different goods and services, both at the level of consumption and at that of production. You need to understand them very clearly. These are intuitive ideas, but they are essential for analyzing what goes on around us. The two fundamental connections which occur in the market are connexity of complementarity and connexity of substitution. Two goods, whether they are consumer goods or factors of production, are complementary if the demand for them moves in the same direction. In other words, when the demand for one rises, the demand for the other rises as well. When the demand for one falls, the demand for the other falls as well. Example, consider the professor's shoes. Here you have my shoe. What type of shoe is it? It's a lace-up. It's a lace-up shoe. Yes, indeed. Well, listen, shoes and laces are complementary. The idea is obvious, is it not? When there is a lace-up shoe, there is also a shoelace. If the demand for lace-up shoes rises, the demand for shoelaces rises too. If the demand for lace-up shoes drops, the demand for shoelaces drops too. Coffee and sugar are complementary, for example, as are coffee and milk, because they complement each other. And many people like coffee with milk and with sugar. You see? They are complementary just as, in the sphere of the factors of production, industrial vehicles and the fuels they need to run are complementary. If the demand for vehicles increases and more vehicles are in operation, there is more demand for fuel, since they are complementary. Okay? And what happens to the price? Well, take note. Other things being equal, remember the individual determinants of price. When the demand for shoes rises, the price of shoes tends to rise. Well, there is also an increase in the demand for laces, and other things being equal, the price of laces tends to increase. And all of you who are studying audio-visual communications must keep up to date, because in the future, when you start working, you must think carefully about which goods and services complement what you are using on a project, because they will have a common purpose, as you can see. Exactly the opposite occurs when there is connexity of substitution. When that relationship exists, when there are substitute goods, the demand for them moves in opposite directions. That is, when the demand for a good increases, the demand for a substitute good decreases, and vice versa. The demand for substitute goods or substitute services, whether in the sphere of consumption or in that of production, moves in opposite directions. Examples of substitute goods: coffee and tea. In England, I just got back from London, I'm just off the plane, people are crazy about tea. At tea time, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, everyone is having a cup of tea. Well, if it turns out that drinking coffee becomes fashionable, people will stop drinking tea, because tea and coffee are substitutes. Another pair of substitutes: fountain pens and ballpoint pens. Unless some lunatic decides to write with both at the same time, and I've never seen anyone do that, they are substitutes. Because if you sign with a fountain pen, you do not sign with a ballpoint pen, and vice versa. They are substitute goods. Diesel fuel and gasoline are substitutes, because if I buy a car that runs on diesel fuel, I do not buy one that runs on gasoline. So we know the demand for these goods moves in opposite directions. What about the price? Well, let's analyze this. If there is more demand for coffee, and the price of coffee goes up, other things being equal, there is less demand for tea, and the price of tea goes down. This is just the opposite of what takes place in a relationship of complementarity. In the market, the relationship par excellence is that of complementarity. The entrepreneur is always searching for the complementary resources he needs to successfully complete his investment projects and arrive at the final consumer good. Consumers do the same. Complementarity. If I want to brush my teeth, what do? I buy a toothbrush, but I also need toothpaste. We combine certain things with other complementary things in order to satisfy our desires and our needs. All creative entrepreneurial spirit is aimed at finding new combinations that are more and more dynamically efficient in terms of complementarity to satisfy our needs. From the dynamic perspective, without a doubt, the relationship par excellence between economic goods and services is that of complementarity. In contrast, within their confused minds, mathematical economists deify or give priority to or focus on the relationship of substitution. They view the idea of substitution as the essential idea, and based on that, they draw substitution curves or lines for substitute goods, and they develop an entire theory of static consumption that makes no sense. Complementarity is the essential idea.
Es la complementariedad la idea esencial.